Welcome to From Click to Client, where we transform a confusing message into a clear, compelling story that sells. I'm your host, Kris Jones, story brand marketing expert. I'm here to help you attract more dream clients with the power of story. Welcome to the podcast. I am thrilled to bring on one of my dear friends and client, LaChelle Wieme. She is a masterful coach and an inspiration to her clients and everyone around her on so many levels, and I'm very excited to dive in with you today. Welcome.
Oh, Kris, it is such an honor to be here. And what a great full circle moment, right? Because the two of us met when you were on my podcast so long ago, and we became, very fast friends. And it's so much fun to see you fulfilling another goal of yours. And I'm just so honored to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. Every time we talk, whether it's on a podcast or off a podcast, we get right to the heart of things, right? That we don't have a lot of room for fluff and niceties. We like to get to the meat. So I want to start by asking you to share with my audience what it is that you do. How do you serve your clients?
Yes. So I love to help specifically service-based entrepreneurs, solopreneurs manifest consistent 5-figure months without constant overwhelm and without constant overthinking. So really, I help people get out of their own stinking way. It's like I'm a butt buster, really. It's like, what are the barriers? What are the obstacles? What are the self-imposed limits that we have? And then how can I help you navigate through and around them so that you can stop making excuses for yourself and actually start to prove to yourself what you're capable of? And it's so much fun because there's so many people that I meet and I serve that have this heart for service. They have this heart for impact, but they have so much going on because they have such a great need for impact that they want to get there like yesterday. And they're adding so much to their plate and they're starting to overthink everything because things aren't working as well as they thought. And it's just so much fun to help them figure out how they can bust through all that stuff.
Tell me, what are the biggest shifts that you witness in your clients, like real world stories?
No, I think that one of the things that I've noticed is a sense of peace. So people think that they want to just show up and they want to manifest this money so they can buy this or buy that. But really what it is comes down to having a life that they don't have now, right? It's having a space to spend more time with family. It's having the opportunities to travel more. It's having the peace and the calmness knowing that their bills are being, met and exceeded, and they can give and live like no one else. And so when I can teach people how to create impact without having to give up their peace, without having to constantly be shitting on themselves, without having to constantly second guess themselves and allow perfectionism to get in the way and just get into flow and ease and joy and fun again, everything starts to click. And so that's really been one of the biggest changes I've seen in my clients is just this demeanor changes, because I think that so oftentimes, especially higher achievers like myself, we want to just force things. We feel like we just have to put in more hours. We have to add more things to our to-do list. We have to continue to push that ball up the hill, if that makes sense. And what I love to help people do is realize that they can actually accomplish more with less by just allowing themselves to stay in high vibration, allowing themselves to work with the God current, allowing themselves to just do what they're good at and what they love doing, and figuring out how we can make the rest work. And so that's been so fulfilling,
I love that. I liken that to, as entrepreneurs, sometimes we get stuck in fifth gear and we're like moving at a fast rate and in forward movement nonstop. And sometimes I just know for myself, sometimes I forget to downshift, and how necessary that is in order to open up for inspiration, guidance, refuel, get clarity. So then when we're taking action again, we're actually not spinning our wheels and just doing to do. We're actually doing things more strategically. One thing I know about you is that, well, a couple things, but the first one I want to dive into is you have some really, really unique tools for giving your clients and yourself a leg up when it comes to getting into that high vibration and staying in that high vibration. So tell me more about that.
Yeah, well, okay, so I'm just going to answer your question by just like geeking out real quick here. So there are 4 steps to manifesting, you guys. And when I say manifesting, it really is to allow things to come to fruition so that we can see in this physical world evidence of God's promises, evidence of, what we desire. And I love the analogy, Kris, if it's okay, I'm going to share this little story that I absolutely love the movie Finding Nemo. It was a staple when my son was little. And there's a scene where Dory is, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. And I think that that's what a lot of us do in business and in life. Really, we just try to slap on a smile and we just keep swimming, and keep telling ourselves that we got this, just keep swimming. But there was a really pivotal moment in this movie where they met Crush the Turtle. And Crush the Turtle's like, hey, dudes, all you need to do is get into the EAC. And that current will shoot right into Sydney. And I believe that that's what can happen when we tap into the universal laws that God created to govern the entire universe. And it's that allowing ease and flow and working smarter, not harder to happen, because we allow ourselves to work with law in order to let things manifest without us pushing and forcing. Okay. So I wanted to just clarify that. There's 4 steps to making that happen. All right. Number 1 is that you have to have a clear idea of what you want. So if you don't know what the heck you're ordering from the universal vending machine, the universe cannot deliver that thing. It's just like ordering a steak. Do you want a steak from, the local gas station's freezer department, or do you want to go to Ruth's Chris and have it, medium well? You have to be able to know exactly what you want. The second step is to be able to know exactly that it is on its way without doubt. And you have this beautiful, thankful expectation that it's on its way. This is really where we delineate between God will and God can. And then the third step is to getting into inspired action. It is the doing part. This is the part that allows us to receive the manifestation. And then the fourth step to that is being in and staying in high vibration. And that is really what allows us to attract from the law of vibration. Okay. Now, staying in high vibes sounds like a great idea. Great theory, right? I don't know about you, Kris, but there are days where I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, the sun is shining. I got to sleep in a little bit late. Like everybody's doing good. Like I can't wait to have a great day. And then something happens. The client cancels on you, or, my husband gets a flat tire, or whatever the case may be. It's really, really easy for us to say that we're going to stay in high vibes until life gets hard, right? And so what I want to do is teach people this resiliency piece, but having the science, the quantum physics that's wrapped around it to understand why it's important to be resilient, why it's important to stay in high vibration. Because what happens is our body, I'm going to break this down a little bit. Our body has this beautiful way of creating energy based on our thoughts and therefore our feelings. Okay, so our thoughts create our feelings, and our feelings, according to researchers at MRT, can actually impact the speed in which the electrons in our atoms in our body are rotating. So the higher the frequency, the higher correlation to positive emotions that I have. The lower the frequency, the correlation to the lower vibration emotions like sadness, despair, hopelessness. The higher vibrations, the higher emotions being love, joy, peace, gratitude, freedom. You can tell that even when I describe that, my voice actually got a little bit higher pitched and a little bit faster, just because that's how my body's energetic shift happened, just with the thought and then the feeling that was associated with that. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now what happens with our thoughts that create our feelings is that our body starts to vibrate at a different frequency. This is how the law of vibration works. Things are going to be in alignment with the frequency of the vibration. If you can think back, Kris, I know that you and I are, approximately the same generation. So you might remember Casey Kasem back in the day.
Oh yeah.
So like I'd be sitting in my little bedroom in Minnesota and I'd be, listening to Casey Kasem ready to hit record on my mixtape. And I'm like, how in the heck can I listen to this guy in LA all the way over in my little rural Minnesota town? And it's because I was tapped into the frequency of his radio station. That's how this works. And so when I can stay in high vibrations, I allow myself to align with the frequency of not only the material things, Kris, but it's the ideas, it's the conversations, it's the people, it's relationships. And I'm going to give you a couple examples of that. I was, working my full-time anesthesia career, but really wanted to take the dive into entrepreneurship. And it wasn't until I quit my job that I really realized that I'm like, oh gosh, like I better make sure I like this because I just made a big change. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, like what is my thing? Like what is the thing that lights me up? What is the thing that I can do that other people can't do? And I was like frantically like forcing this answer. I'm like praying, like God, just reveal it to me, like trying to ask people questions and all this stuff. And all I was doing, Kris, was I was realigning myself with the frequency of the problem. instead of allowing myself to release that resistance and take myself to a higher vibration where the solution was living. Long story short, we went on a dream trip with my family, road trip through Colorado and Utah and all the beautiful national parks. And I literally, because I was in high vibrations, I was in, the best time of my life. The download to my Spiral Up program just came out of nowhere.
Oh my gosh.
And so it's when we release that and allow ourselves to stay in high vibration that we can essentially tap into the God frequency, tap into all the answers that are available to us by the creator of the universe, and allow ourselves to stop forcing it, but allow ourselves to receive it. And I just had this happen, within the last couple of days where I just happened to mention to a couple people that, I want to do things a little bit differently with my next book. And before I know it, I'm getting literally like people sending me text messages like, hey, LaChelle, I have this patient who does this, and I told him about you, and here's his contact information. Or, hey, have you ever met this guy? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I have 3 books on my shelf from him. Oh, well, you should meet him. I'll connect you. I'm like, what the heck? These conversations, these people, these ideas are all aligning because I've allowed myself to get in those vibrations. And you probably also want to know a little bit about how I do that, because I think that was your original question.
Yeah, oh, I'd love to. Yeah, but this is great context, so I really appreciate you diving in.
So I think, there's a couple of tools that I use. Number one is just recognizing that our thoughts create our feelings. And so our thoughts are therefore the beautiful instigator, right, of the vibration that our body can have. So really capturing your thoughts and not capturing them from I should have and guilt and shame around having thoughts, but more of a curiosity and having fun with it. Like, oh my goodness, you little stinker, I just caught you again. And now I'm going to shift you into what I want. Okay. So that's just recognizing that we have the power to do that. The second thing that I utilize all the time is actually a quantum physics software that I use on my phone and my computer that can shift me into the frequency that I want. It also has this ability to analyze 10 seconds of my voice. So I do a voice recording once, if not twice a day. And it will give me a prescription of musical tones that I can listen to that will balance out my emotions. Remember, the more I can control my emotions, the more that I can control my vibration. The more that I control my vibration, the more that I can control the things that I can manifest. And so not only does that technology allow me to do that, I'm also able to do little things inside of it, like record affirmations that are able to get into my subconscious without the subconscious barrier. And so when I can utilize tools to help keep my vibration up, that's huge. That's absolutely huge. There's 2 more things I'll mention. One is making sure that you surround yourself with people that are high vibration. Who is in your circle? There is everything from scripture to, the infamous quote by Jim Rohn that we are the result of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And so if you are around a bunch of Debbie Downers who don't value growth, they think everything is hopeless, they think you're weird for doing whatever you're doing, it's going to rub off on you because of resonance energy. Their energy is going to create a drop in yours. And so be really aware of who you're spending your time with. And then the last thing that I do, Kris, and this is kind of, I think, one of the most unique things that I teach with my specific clients is I teach them how to tap in to their own universal guidance. I really make it clear that my clients are not meant to rely on me. They're not meant to look outside of themselves for any guru. I teach them how to create within them a trust in the discernment that they are getting from higher intelligence, source energy, God in my vocabulary. And so when you can start to acknowledge that, you can actually learn how to ask yes, no questions and get answers that are going to guide you. And the thing that's so interesting, and I know we're talking about vibration, but one of the biggest problems that I see with my clients have that they are not even aware of is that their business is stalled because of their inability to make decisions. Their decisions are blocked because they have fears preventing them from taking bold steps. Their decisions are blocked because they have insecurities and imposter syndromes preventing them from charging what they're supposed to charge. Those are just a couple examples. And so when I can teach people how to tap into God through their subconscious and through their body, there is no wrong answer. And there is no way that they can mess it up. And there is no way that perfectionism can get in the way. And when we do that, we release the resistance. We allow for us to flow with what it is that's supposed to happen. And things just start clicking. And it's like this massive cool domino effect.
So let's let's break it down. So what, like when your clients have big fears like that, like I know a lot of my clients struggle with imposter syndrome, or they have like money mindset stuff going on. How do you help your clients really on a tangible level overcome those fears?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that the first thing is really just acknowledging, like helping them see where they're stuck, because you can't fix what you don't acknowledge. And I think that a lot of times people just assume that they just need another strategy. And so I've had the privilege of working with you. You are unbelievably talented, Kris. One of the things that I've seen over and over again is that people look for strategy. They look for people to tell them what to do. They look for people to tell them what their program should look like, or what it should cost, or what their social media strategy should look like. And then they don't execute it. I remember being in the same situation. I hired this coach several years ago, and I was talking to her about a VIP day that I wanted to do. And she's like, I want you to charge, I think it was at the time, like $5,000. I'm like, oh, I could never charge that. And I remember talking to my husband later that night, and he's like, you could never charge that. So I went to somebody with a worse money mindset than I did for the advice. And then I had this acknowledgement. I'm like, I am paying her to tell me what to do. And she knows me, both my strengths and my weaknesses. And she's telling me I should do this. And so it's being able to recognize, like, this is what I want to do. Why am I not doing it? Right.
Right.
And
It's the iceberg metaphor, right? You've got the portion of the iceberg above the water, but really the majority of it is under the water. And that's really driving our beliefs and our decisions and our ability to move forward. And that stuff, if it's not, supportive, will really weigh you down.
100%. And I think that, again, people will instinctively search for strategy. I just need to sign up for this 30-day social media planner. I just need to get this coach session planner that's going to tell me exactly what to do. I just need to have this person create all my website copy, right? But if we don't have the underlying root stuff figured out, you're not going to be able to execute the strategy to the level of success that it's meant to do, because you are not just what you do, friend. You are who you are while you do it. And so it's really this beautiful synchronicity between all of these parts of the puzzle that create your success and your ability to continue to manifest. And I think a lot of people confuse manifesting with, this idea that I can just press a button on this, God-sized vending machine and a Ferrari is going to show up in my driveway. Like, it doesn't work that way. You have to follow the 4 steps that I mentioned, but it's also important that you understand that you can manifest $1 million tomorrow. But if you have the mindset underneath the hood ready for that wealth, you are not going to keep it, which is why so many lotto winners do not stay wealthy. You have to have those root areas really tightened up in order for you to not only manifest, but to keep in your abundance frequency and be able to continue to manifest that. And I've identified 7 things that my clients have that hold them back. And it sometimes is one, sometimes it's a combination of them. But once we get that figured out, like, any strategy is going to work. It's amazing.
It really is amazing. I'm always blown away by that study around lottery winners and how they solved their money problems. They got all this money. And then I think it's within about a year, they're back to where they were before. And it truly is because they don't think of themselves as somebody who has money and enjoys money. And then inevitably the vibration recalibrates, right? And then they're back right where they started. It's really, really fascinating. Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, like, I tie in, so my 10 secret thoughts, and all that I do is this combination of quantum physics, brain science, and scripture. I feel like when we can have this intersection of those most powerful things, we can do amazing things. And if you think about the scripture that says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. It's really that acknowledgement between your thoughts and your feelings, your thoughts and your heart. And when those two can come together, that's when you are being who you need to be. And it's about being so that you can do and then have, right? And so if there's a discrepancy between the thought and the feeling, so if I say, I'm $1 million earner, but in my gut, I'm like, ooh, that, wealth is greedy, or I'm going to be alone if that happens to me, or I have to work too hard to make that happen, or all those things. So inside they have a feeling that is misaligned with that thought. They're going to manifest the feeling part of it
Mm. Mhm.
Not the
Mhm.
thought part of it. We have to have congruence between the two.
Yeah. Yeah, this reminds me of a client that I worked with named Andrea, and she hired me to write her story, and we revamped her website and got her signature story really dialed in, which of course is what she hired me to do. And what happened was, and I think what my clients don't realize is kind of the strategic byproduct of my work, the invisible one, is that all of a sudden they have the words to communicate what they do, and through the process of working together they really begin to see the power of their work and believe it, like
Yes.
they get it. What she shared was, she's like, I finally got it on a cellular level, the power of the work that I do. And when that happens, we fill up with confidence. And when that happens for her, she would get on the phone with clients, and she was close. She's at about a 20% close rate. So she was getting 2 clients for every 10 discovery calls that she booked. Once she really understood the power of her work and the importance of it, she showed up to the calls differently. Yes,
Yes.
she had the words also to communicate that, but deeper than that, it was more like the confidence that she knew the value of the work that she did. And her close rate went up to 95%. So for every phone call she got on, every 10 phone calls, she got 9.5 clients, which is kind of mind blowing. And it's such a tangible example of what can happen. Kind of the combo of, like, you think you need something external, you need to either do it yourself or have someone do it for you. But ultimately, if you're choosing the right thing, you're choosing something that will help you internally up level and really stand strong in the work that you do. Because, my clients typically are doing the work they're put on the planet to do. Like, they're purposeful, they're driven, they love their work. They do not want to sell. Nobody wants to sell. It feels uncomfortable. But when you can really stand strong in the power of the work you do, you don't have to sell. It's really just a conversation to connect, and that person can self-select if they want to solve the problem that you can solve for them. And you also you're interviewing them too. Like, you don't want to take every client that comes your way. You want to be very selective about who you surround your energy with, who you work with, because we want to attract those right fit clients. The wrong fit clients were never meant to work with us anyway. So
And you are so right on, is that your process, people come to you, right, for something, copywriting on their website, clarity and investing on their website. But what they get from you is so much more. And I love how your process actually, I can think of every single one of my 7 pillars as an example of that you touch on in some way inside of your process. Because what I find is that if you have I kind of create this circle, the circle that creates success, right? And so if you have these 7 data points that are around making the integrity of the circle, if you have a weak part in any one of those 7 circles, it decreases the integrity of that circle and your circle collapses, right? And so people come in and say, hey, like, here's what you should have. But if they don't have that clarity of that message, which you help them with, then they're not going to be able to articulate. They're not going to be able to get on those sales calls. If they don't have the confidence, belief that they are actually able to deliver, because that's one of the biggest fears that I get from clients, is that they're afraid that I don't want to be such a good salesperson that I'm selling a bill of goods that is not what I'm telling them it is, because I don't believe that I am worthy of what I'm charging, or I don't believe that I'm really good at what I do, or I don't believe that I can get the results that I'm promising. And so people need to be able to understand underneath what makes them special, what unique gifts and talents and passions and life skills and experiences that they've had that makes them the absolute perfect guide on the journey that you help them discover who they can serve as a hero, and that they can own their part as the perfect guide for this situation. And I think that, courage is one of my 7 pillars as well. And if I have this fear of sales, again, I'm going to come into that sales call, not what I do, it's who I am while I do it. And so I could have the script, but if I don't believe in what I'm saying, if I don't believe that I'm worthy of saying no to somebody who's maybe not the good fit, then the sales script is not going to help me.
Right.
And so it's really just being able to build on all of those things, which is exactly what you do. Exactly what you do.
Yes, that's true. I know the work that we do is so, as my partner would say, the Venn diagram is deep. There's a lot of beautiful overlap there. You've mentioned your 7 pillars, and I remember working with you on your website with this spiral, beautiful visual that you created in Canva of these pillars. And I'd like to hear about the pillars. What are they? And fill me in.
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, my company signature product is Spiral Up, because I believe that if we can allow for massive forward momentum, we can create massive, beautiful change and impact in the world, right? But there's so many things, Kris, that impact us, that create situations where we start to spiral down. And if we go back to the beginning of our conversation, our vibration lowers, and we therefore are not attracting what we want, or we're attracting what we don't want, because we're always manifesting, okay? And so I built out these pillars, these Spiral Up, essentially core pieces, in a very strategic manner, because I want to help people get to the root cause of what's holding them back and to prepare them for what is to come. Because here's the deal. Again, I can help you manifest, but I need to help you stay and be able to expand upon that. And so even if you think you're good, we usually can find some cracks in some of these. So the very first one, Kris, is this recognizing the power of choice. This is when we can take ownership for our life and our decisions and what's good and bad in our lives. And we can say, hey, I am no longer allowing myself to give up my power to any person, place, or thing outside of myself. And I'm allowing myself to accept the law of cause and effect, that I am first cause, that me, myself, and I are able to change my life in the trajectory that I want it to go. The moment that I take my power back, the moment that I acknowledge that I am the solution, the moment that I acknowledge that I'm going to look for solutions to rise above my circumstances rather than to become victim to it, that is the very first shift that has to be made. If you can't make that happen, then none of these are going to work. Right. And so I will tell you guys that I don't know, Kris, if we're recording over video or just audio, but I have a lot of books behind me, and I will tell you that every single one of them, every podcast I listen to, every conversation I have with somebody that's, has their act together, has one common theme, and that's that successful people do not allow themselves to be victim to their circumstances. They figure out a way to rise above. And so I want you to recognize that as a very, very important foundation to this, okay? The second one is confidence. You have to believe that it's possible for you. Not that it's possible for anybody, but for you, and that you have to be able to get rid of any stinking thinking, any mindset, limiting beliefs that have been sucked into your background, okay? And this is the thing that's really fascinating, because I study brain science. I have an anesthesia background, so I love the human body as well. And I've discovered, working with my clients, Kris, is so fascinating, that I've discovered limiting beliefs that have been inherited by family members. I've taken clients through processes where we've been able to identify the exact moment that the limiting belief was formed. And that moment was their grandma in her kitchen when she was 30 years old.
Wow.
And literally describing to me what her grandma's kitchen looked like, that it was different than what she remembered. And she was looking out the window and could see her young grandpa, who was going away on business. And the grandma was feeling like she couldn't say that she was unhappy, that she didn't deserve better, that she was just supposed to grin and bear it. And that belief was literally passed on to her mom and then her. And the moment that we were able to pluck that belief out like a weed and plant it with the seeds of truth, not only did she heal, but it helped her mom and her kids. And so you guys, like, this is foundational, okay? Third one is clarity. You have to be able to know what makes you special. You have to be able to know who you serve, especially if you're in business. Most of my clients are solopreneurs. So you have to know who your avatar is and what makes you special. And I really utilize lots of external techniques to help people understand, like, holy crap, LaChelle, I never saw myself like that. And I never knew that I could believe in myself like this. And that's so important. Okay, you guys. That's also the part of that when they learn how to make decisions. They learn how to not get stuck in fear and perfectionism and people pleasing and codependency that are impacting their decision making. It's really being able to take that decision from a place of power versus being powerless. Okay. Connectedness is another one of my C's. And this one is just acknowledging that you are not alone. I remember I had a client conversation once where she and I were talking, and she's like, oh, I just feel like it's so much pressure, LaChelle. I feel like there's so much pressure for me to fulfill this calling I believe I have in my life. And I asked her, I said, hey, what percentage do you think you own in this? And what percentage do you think God has? And she's like, I don't know, like 50%. So I'm like, you're telling me that 50% is on you and the other 50% is on the creator of the entire universe.
That's a powerful question.
Right? And so,
Yeah.
okay, so like, let me work with God. Let me get into the EAC. Let me know that I can ask him for guidance. And then I teach them how to ask yes, no questions so that I can say, should I work with this client? Yes or no? Should I do this on my to-do list? Yes or no? Should I sign up for this coaching? Yes or no? Should I hire this person? Yes or no? And when you can do that, you start to stop holding all of the weight of the world on your shoulders and start to acknowledge the fact that you are on this beautiful journey with this supernatural business partner who wants to help you. And when you can tap into the knower of all knowing, you are not in this alone, and the pressure just melts off, and it's unbelievable. That's that piece that I was talking about before. The next pillar is courage. It's that acknowledging what we're afraid of. And when you understand the anatomy and the physiology of fear, you can actually face any fear from the same perspective and overcome it. Doesn't matter what that fear is. It could be that fear of picking up the phone and calling somebody, or it could be the fear of spiders. It doesn't matter, because the anatomy and physiology of fear is the same. And so we are able to acknowledge what fear is for you, and then how to overcome it once and for all. And once you know how to do that, then you can do that same process with any fear, which is amazing.
Wow.
The next one is all about consistency. This is getting into action. Remember, the third step to manifesting is taking inspired action. And so this is you doing what you said you were going to do. This is you building the habits. This is you building the successful traits that a winner does in order to continue to create and to manifest. And then the very last one is conquer. And this is where I help people build that resiliency so that we can stay in high vibration, even when things get hard, even when business is not what I thought it was, even when my husband doesn't believe in my vision and thinks that I'm not going to do because I quit my job. You know, he did it. My husband didn't. But my point is that, like, this happens, you guys. Your mom thinks you're crazy because you got your doctorate. Now you're, quitting that and you're doing all your own things. Like, these are real things. And I want people to be able to have all the tools at the foundation so that as you continue to spiral up, as you continue to meet new levels of who you were built to be, you have those places of solid foundation in order to navigate that. And you can prove to yourself what you're capable of.
Oh my gosh. Now, are you going to start your own church? Because I would like to attend.
Oh boy, I might say too many swear words to be.
Well, you're going to attract a certain kind of congregation, and I'm totally on board with swear words. So that is so beautiful. It's so thoughtful. I'm curious. I have two more questions for you. One, I want to circle back to that moment that you were on this road trip with your family, having the time of your life. You stopped pushing for answers, right? And you were in having joy, distracted by fun. Do you remember the moment that you got that download?
Yeah, we were on a hike in the national park.
Oh my gosh.
Hiking away in my own thoughts, enjoying the sun, enjoying the fact that my family was with me. And I just was thinking, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, like, that's it. And Kris, I had been really pushing, praying for an answer. And I had just read the book 10X is Easier Than 2X by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. It's a great book. And they talked about how you can scale by focusing on the 20% of what you do really, really well and letting everybody else do the rest, right? And I'm like, what's my thing? What you're so good at is helping people figure that out, right? But I'm like, what's my thing? And I'm like, Lord, what is my thing? What's my thing? And I know I can do a lot, but just because we can doesn't mean we should. And what people don't realize is that, just like, I'm going to hold up my cell phone, you guys. So there's a front and a back to my cell phone. They both exist at the same time. And just because Kris can see the back of my cell phone does not mean that the front doesn't exist, right? That's the law of supply and demand. So as soon as there is a demand, the supply automatically is created. Okay. So the supply and the demand are both existing at the exact same time. Just because I can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Okay. So what I was doing again is I was realigning myself with the problem and the frequency of the problem. What should I do? What haven't I thought of? Who could I talk to? All these things. And then the moment that I allowed myself to just chill the heck out and I'm enjoying myself, it was like, oh, I'm really good at connecting, which is why I have all these experts as part of my program. Kris is one of them. I'm really good at helping people see their blind spots and their barriers and solutions to that, which is what I get people, to do. I get them past where they're stuck. And when I started to acknowledge that, I came back. Kris, this is crazy. So this road trip was 2 weeks long. We came back on a Saturday. I had a live launch scheduled on Tuesday, 3 days later, that was going to launch a completely different program. Came back on Saturday, launched on Tuesday, but I decided, screw that, I'm going to launch what I just came up with. And I launched my new program that I had just come up with, 5-figure launch.
Wow.
As the plane was taking off, I made lots of, mad calls to my expert friends that I'm like, all right, this is my vision. Are you in? Yep, let's do this. And we just did it. Because here's the thing, you guys. Remember I told you that we have to have those 4 steps in manifesting. I had the vision. I had the vision that I wanted to help people and I wanted to be able to work from anywhere. Okay. I wanted the vision and I knew that it was on its way because God showed it to me on that download. And what happens is so many people, they don't trust our discernment or they poo-poo these downloads. Instead, what you have to do is you'd have to take inspired, aligned action. So when you have that out of the blue idea, you have to actually do something with it. And that is when you expect with Thanksgiving, this is my belief in action, because if I didn't think that it was going to work, I wouldn't have launched it 3 days later. I had to take that brave, inspired action, and God rewarded me for that. And Kris, I quit my job in September of 2022. I make way more money than I've ever made my entire life, more than my full-time anesthesia career. I work from home. I get to spend time with my kids. I'm traveling the world. I'm so grateful, but I had to be able to follow these steps. And so that's a little bit of back on that. So,
oh my gosh, what an inspiring story. All right, as we wrap up today, I keep adding more questions to my plan because this has been such a great conversation. Now you really help your clients overcome their blocks, get out of the grind, get out of the hustle, and move into openness, abundance, and clarity. Most people that I work with do their work because they've walked that path themselves. And I'm curious, is part of your passion around this based on the fact that you've walked a similar journey, kind of figured it out, and now you're ready to show other people how to do that?
That's a great question. So, yes and no. So I actually behind me have a copy of my book, my latest book that I wrote. It's called Get Out of God's Way. Get over yourself and step into the life and purpose that He has for you. And so one of the things that I've had to acknowledge myself is that I get in my own way all the time, you guys. I still struggle sometimes with fears and lack of belief in myself. And that is evidence that I'm spiraling up and I'm leveling up, because each time we get to a new evolution of who we are meant to be, we're going to bump up against old bruises. And so I want to make sure that I'm very clear that this is not I did it and now it's done situation. It is that once you are spiraling up, remember we're moving in upwards form. Every time I kind of round that bend and I bump up against that old bruise, that old piece of imposter syndrome or that old money mindset, snag that I've had, I'll still bump up against it and I'll notice it. But this is the difference. You'll notice it faster and you will overcome it faster. And so each step of the way, you're going to continue to recognize things faster. You're like, oh, this worked better last time, and I'm going to keep going up. Okay. So absolutely 100%, everything that I teach are things that I've had to learn. But the other thing that I'm just going to say is that when I started my first online business was in 2016, and I had the privilege of leading and coaching so many men and women, Kris. And there's one story in particular that I keep coming back to all the time. And this was this woman who, wanted my help. And I remember us sitting in this coffee spot and she was telling me about her dreams. She was like, oh my gosh, LaChelle, when I get this business going, I'm going to retire my fiance. And one of the things I would love to do is live on Lake Superior, northern Minnesota someday. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's beautiful. She told me about these beautiful dreams and with such articulation. And she ended up posting about her business like a couple days later on social media. And her brother commented, making fun of her. And she completely shut down. She never posted about her business again, and she gave up on all her dreams. And so if you were to ask me what my calling is in the world, I'm going to best describe it as the parable of the servants. So if you've heard this story before, you know that this master leaves town and he gives 3 servants a varied number of coins while he's gone. The first 2 servants take their coins, they reinvest them. The master comes back and he's like, way to go. Good job. Well done. Good and faithful servant. You reinvested and you expanded what I gave you. Nice job. The third guy instead buried his coins because he was so afraid of losing them. And the master came back and he's like, man, you could have at least invested this in the bank and gotten me interest. Like, you didn't do anything with what I gave you. And I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be the one who was given this very unique set of skills and life experiences and strengths and passions and didn't do anything with it. And it's like, I'm the person who's also standing next to the third guy. And I'm like, give me that shovel. I want to help you figure out how to use those talents because I don't want any of them to go to waste. I want you to be able to hear, well done, good and faithful servant. I want you to be able to know that you 100% lived to your capability, that you did everything that you were equipped to do, and that you made the world a better place because you were here. And so it's really just my own experience, but also just walking alongside so many people. I have this, like, I don't know, it's a gift and a curse at the same time. I see potential in everything. It drives some people crazy because I can see this old house. I'll be like, oh, this is what I would do in the kitchen. This is what I would do then. I can do that with furniture. I can do that with clothing. I can do that with people. This is what you don't see. This is what we could do, right? And so the hard part about that is when I see potential that's unmet, and I know that there are ways for us to make it better so that there are no regrets, then that's what I want to be able to do.
Wow. I'm just going to like pause for a moment and let that sink in. It's so incredibly beautiful. LaChelle, thank you for coming today. I have no doubt that this message is going to reach so many people and inspire so many people. And my final question, I'm going to throw you a curveball. What's the next tattoo that you're going to get with your dad?
You know, he says he's one and done. My sister wants to get a tattoo with him because she's jealous. And he's like, no, I got my tattoo. So yeah.
What did you get? What did you guys get together? What was that?
They're not matching. So background, so I love Nashville. It's like my favorite place to visit. And my 40th birthday, I decided that I wanted to take my dad, who loves country music. So that has been a thing that we do now every single year, is I take my dad and my mom and my husband to Nashville and we have a great time. So the last time we were there, my dad and I both got a tattoo, his very first one, and he got a 4-legged John Deere because he restores old tractors. And what did I get this last time? I think I got a cross. I don't even remember. It was so much fun because, yeah, the two of us just went and had a blast. And my sister was so jealous because she didn't get to have that experience with them.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good story. All right. So, LaChelle, where can people find you?
Yes. So I keep it really simple, even though my name is not. So my name is LaChelle, and it's LACHELLE. And then my last name is Wieme. So WIEME. You can find me at LaChelleWieme.com. You can find me, LaChelle Wieme, on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, all the places. I just keep it simple and have it in my name. So yeah, you guys are totally, you can find my book on Amazon, and I have a free workbook that goes along with it right on my website. And yeah, there's all kinds of fun ways you guys can connect with me.
And you have a masterclass, don't you? A free masterclass on your website?
Yes. So I have this very long thought out lived experience that I've created a method that helps people manifest. And it's called the flow state money method. And it's really just how to manifest consistent 5-figure months with less overwhelm and less overthinking. And I talk about how to do that and how to apply that method in this masterclass that I created. It's called Burnout to Breakthrough. And you guys can access it for free on my website. And Kris, I am feeling a little generous today. Is it okay if I offer something else?
Oh, please. Yeah.
So you guys, normally I charge $25 for a voice analysis that will give you the emotions that you are out of range with in that prescription music to get you back so that you can vibrate at a higher frequency. And I am willing to give it to your listeners, Kris, for free. If they just, I'll make sure that you get the link and they can certainly apply to get one of those done because it is unbelievably powerful. So
wow. Thank you, LaChelle. We will put that link in the show notes. So anybody who wants to take advantage of that generous offer, you can find that in the show notes. So thank you. Thank you so much. It's been such a joy.
Is your website turning away potential clients? I can help you turn that around. Book a money-making messaging call with me today, and we'll transform your story into your most powerful sales tool. That's all for this episode of From Click to Client. Don't forget to subscribe and follow. I'm Kris Jones, and I'll see you next time.